gets you to really have a better grip on politics and especially geopolitics. So yeah, so we all about to talk about our Luigi Mangione and his fashion, and also how everything ties in dialectical materialism. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome if you're new. Welcome back if you're revenant. Please consider subscribing if you like everything and anything about fashion, critical thinking, and yapping. I know it has been a while, and I don't know about you, but this whole facade that we have to put on, the fact that everything is alright when nothing is alright, is really hard on me. Especially that as someone who hates pretending, I really, really hate pretending. So having to pretend that everything is fine when nothing is fine because we're living through multiple genocides, crippling economy, like an empire completely dying, and seeing that the people who benefited from this empire trying all their best to maintain this empire, it was about time that Western Empire dies, to be honest. Like a ghoulish empire like this one shouldn't even been a thing in the first place. If you want to keep up with me and to keep up with the political landscape, you can also follow me on Instagram at girls with 3Z at the end, because I'm very active on stories there. From time to time, I post on feeds as well, where I post some outfit pics, and in between, there's like nice political memes or posts. So also, if you want to keep up a bit more with me and kind of be more aware of what's happening politically, follow me on Instagram. So today's video, as you might have seen with the title of this video, I don't know what the title of this video is yet, but it's something, mentioning Luigi Mangione and the fact that he's a fashion icon and dialectical materialism. Because it's something that I've been willing to talk about for a bit, to be honest, because at the moment, the whole Luigi Mangione thing, before we even knew he was Luigi Mangione, the whole fashion aspect has been very, very big. Um, and then when we knew who he was, it got even bigger. And it was very interesting to see like the reaction online, to see how people kind of found it contradictory that we were praising this guy, but then people were all about his fashion and trying to find places where to buy similar things. And like, I understand people's confusion, but the thing is, the moment you understand and you view things and world issues through a Marxist lens, and you do consider things such as dialectical materialism, it makes sense. And as a Marxist myself, I love to actually talk about concepts of Marxism in a digestible way, and I'm also still very much interested in fashion. So I like to kind of, hopefully get you interested in Marxism through like this lens. And I thought that in order for people to really kind of get a first grasp of dialectical materialism, it was nice to use this subject of Luigi Mangione to kind of understand what is dialectical materialism and why actually it's important to understand world issues through dialectics, because we live in a moving world. The like things are not static, things move, things change, and it's never going to always be the same. For chapter one, I think it is fair to introduce Luigi Mangione and also what and why he is being charged for. So Luigi Mangione is a 26-year-old American engineer, I think it is. And he studied in a very prestigious university, and turns out that he comes from, a privileged family. And he is accused of being the United Healthcare CEO, Brian Thompson's gunman. So, on a crisp morning in December 4th, 2024, Brian Thompson, CEO of United Healthcare, was heading to a meeting in Midtown Manhattan. And on his way there, a masked man um, shot him down 3 times on the back. And then this masked man fled the scene on a bike. And I remember when I saw that, like the reaction online were insane. Insane in a way that I think I had never seen the American people this united in so long. Because no matter which political spectrum you were in, everyone understood the importance of this action. And when the police and all the people in charge of, crime scene got to the scene, it was found out that the bullet case shellings were actually engraved on, and on them was engraved defend, deny, defend, depose, deny, or depose, defend, deny. Like one of the. And if you know a thing or two about American healthcare system, you just know that this is hell. They always have to fight their insurances because majority of those insurances are so greedy that they refuse to cover costs that are actually vital. And it also, of course, reached the other side of the pond. And as someone who lives in Switzerland, I can tell you, Switzerland being very similar to the United States because we also a federal country. We also have each state that gets to legislate its own laws and regulations. But we also have federal laws, but it's a bit kind of confusing, like why, who, anyways, like I always refer to the state laws because I feel like that it's the safest to follow. We also have a for-profit healthcare, meaning that our healthcare also works the same way as the American healthcare. It's just that in Switzerland it's compulsory, meaning that I have to pay 675 francs every day month for my healthcare. And I also have premiums. And the thing is that, like, so I have a premium, and as long as I am not, my medical costs are not exceeding my premiums, I'm not getting reimbursed. So there's like, yeah, 1,500 that I have to pay from my own pocket of medical costs. And if I go overboard, then they start reimbursing me. And even so, like the way they reimburse you is that there's still 10% of your medical costs that should be paid from your own pocket. Anyways, so it kind of also resonated a lot here in Switzerland because I started seeing like a lot more people here in Switzerland talking about the way the healthcare system was very similar as well. So clearly, it hit a nerve also here in Switzerland, knowing also that actually I think the first most debt that is occurring in Switzerland is healthcare debts, meaning that a lot of the people in Switzerland can't afford to pay their healthcare, and a lot of them go on debt because it's too expensive. This is actually a crazy thing. Just all that to say that basically it resonated a lot in Switzerland as well as the rest of Europe, because it was all about understanding that we live in a system where it's not left versus right, it is up versus down. We have an elite class that is trying to make profit out of everything that we can, and then we have us, the working class. No matter if you come from middle class or like working class, middle class and working class are still working class. After 5 days of intense searching the area to find him, um, he was apprehended in Altoona, Pennsylvania, a few weeks later. A few weeks later. No, a few days later. Sorry, after 5 days. And so what was actually kind of insane also is just that as the search was going on, clearly the elite class panicked because the moment those people understood that basically they were not actually untouchable, they panicked. I remember that they were literally kind of posting um job opening for security guards or like anything to do with security for CEOs. That's how panicked they were. Talking about the fashion, I remember that people were dissecting like the fashion that he was wearing, trying to find out what kind of jacket he was wearing, and also the backpack and all that. And because so many pictures of a certain gunman was actually um, going around on social media because the police was actively trying to find him. um a lot of people, like, it was always like different pictures anyways, and a lot of people were just like trying to figure out where to find like the jacket that he was wearing, because I remember I was seeing posts of people being like, yeah, by the way, you can find this jacket here and there, and all that. And in the meantime, what also happened is that there was also, it was around the time where the celebrity look-alike contests were very big, which is very kind of interesting because I don't know if they died down or people just got bored and we're not reporting on them, but I haven't heard about a new celebrity lookalike since. But there was like a lookalike contest, and it was like a United Healthcare CEO gunman contest in New York that happened, which stirred a lot of mixed feeling online. Some people found this like very hilarious, that it was happening, because it was very in the moment of something, especially that you could see that like people were really rallying behind that man. Nobody knew who he was or where he was, but people were rallying behind him, which is very, very kind of telling about the political atmosphere of our time. And some people online were also, kind of dressing like him in a way, having this kind of, similar jackets, having this like neck hoodie. I like to call them like neck hoodie, where they also cover part of your face and all that. It was a moment, and clearly you could see that the fashion was a very, very, very important part of it. Like, that's something that I say all the time, but fashion is inherently political, and you can't actually remove the political from fashion, because those two are like that. Oh, sorry, I have like rings so you can't see, but those things are literally like that. So it's really, really hard to really kind of try to separate both of them, because they just can't be separated, because it is the fashion always kind of tells you a lot about the state of the world, or like it's the zeitgeist of the world, and it was also like, since nobody really knew what he looked like, because his face was kind of hidden, even though we had like multiple pictures of like supposedly the same man, but I'm telling you, it was not the same man. um the first one that we got, and the one from the video of the incident, clearly you could not see what he was, what he looked like, but you could see what he wore. And so that defining aspect was already kind of important thing, and people kind of referred a lot onto that, because that was the only aspect that we can see. Like I always say as well, that the first thing that people see of you is like your outer appearance, and your outer appearance also involves your style. So that's why I do personally believe that your style also reflects part of your personality and your character, because like by looking at people's outfit, you can have like some hints of what they might be into, what they might like, and all that. And it just gives some very trivial information that you can get from the get-go. But when it is coupled with such a massive event, it gives you kind of, a lot more to discuss, and it makes like the whole fashion at the forefront, because especially that it was at a time where it was getting cold, and also the man was masked, and all that, and it also pushed, and it is still pushing now. I think like the governor, Hochul in New York, is still trying to push for a mask ban, which, by the way, is kind of horrendous to think about, because I'm very sorry to let you know about that, but the pandoodle is not done. And just in general, some people have really, really fragile healthcare. So to have to expose them to deadly diseases, or like just very infectious viruses, is ableist, and it's very problematic. Another thing that was also very kind of important, even before we knew who he was the whole backpack thing, because apparently the backpack that he was wearing was a very specific brand, and it was said that the CEO of that brand was actually helping the feds to locate him, and that's actually apparently how they located him in Altoona, Pennsylvania, in that McDonald's. Boycott McDonald's, boycott them, because they snitch on you as well. There's no solidarity with the people over there. No, I hope there is solidarity with the workers in McDonald's. It's just that, the institution in itself is actually not to be supported. Anyways, so it was reported that the CEO of that backpack, I can't remember for the life of me the brand of that backpack, so I'm just gonna put it on screen. Helped the Fed to locate who he was, and apparently they managed to find his like customer number or whatever. I don't know, like it was like an insane story where I was just like, how can you do that? Like, how can you? Anyways, um, but then it was met with a lot of backlash and criticism, because people were just like, man, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? So he retracted to say that apparently, no, he actually did not help the feds at all, which we will never really know the truth, because since he kind of more retracted when he saw that people were not happy about this and coming after him, that's when he was like, okay, maybe I'm gonna try to cool down the waters and all that. So we don't really know if it really helped, or if it did not. But the fact that he kind of retracted after he got all the backlash, I have a feeling that if people were clapping and thanking him for doing that, he would have taken all the credit. But because people were not doing that, suddenly it was not him. But that backpack element was also kind of uh, you know a big story. And then he got caught, and like we from then on the support got even stronger, and that's something that I want to kind of repeat and say out loud again. The fact that Luigi Mangione is a hot man um is not what actually brought the support, because people were already supporting and rooting for him before they knew what he looked like. And I'm very, very certain that even if the man was not as good looking as he is right now, it's just that people would have spoken less about the appearance, a bit more about the action that he's doing. But this does not erase the importance or like the impact that the action got. And that is why the support got so big as well, is because of the action. I don't know if you also paid attention to it, but because Luigi was so first when he got on the news, of course, a lot of people were lusting over that man because he is very good looking. But again, I am very certain that even though he was not that good looking, the support would still have been strong, because it's all about the action than anything else. Same goes for the fact that people are saying that, oh, but I don't think it's him. At this point, it does not matter if it's him or not, if they got the right guy or not. It's the action and the impact that this action had that is actually, important in there. And in talking about that, like it also makes me think about how the media tried to make us hate him, to the point that we now at a point where I was seeing like some people, and I shared it on my stories when it came out, that as the media were actually running smear campaigns against him, because I don't know if you paid attention, but if you didn't know, just know that mainstream media is here to fit a narrative, because they're owned by corporation billionaires, and because those people felt really, really threatened by that, they had to have the media to manufacture a certain disdain for that man, which it did not work. And that's also why he disappeared for few weeks, because they tried, and they tried really, really, really hard to get him to be hated by the major population, and when they realized that it did not work, they then moved to identity politics, where they were just like, oh, the reason why he has like so much support is because he's white and he's hot. But also, did you know that he was privileged? He comes from a very wealthy family. And the thing is, identity politics, the way they are being co-opted by the liberal media and the liberal world, is a problem to this day, because it's dividing us more than it is actually uniting us. And you can see this example in the way the media was trying to use identity politics to get us to hate on Luigi, where they were trying to be like, oh yeah, the reason why so many people are rallying like for him is because he's hot and white. There were even like article being like, oh yeah, the white privilege in that, and it was just kind of insane, because people were just like, the man could have been like any ethnicities, like races or whatever. It's the action that matters, and that's the thing that the media is trying to kind of make us completely forget, that it's the reason why so many people were rallying behind Luigi even before they knew what he looked like, was because of the action he did, you know. But the media will always try to use the identity politics in order to try to turn the tides and to be like, okay, we're gonna try to make him be hated in a way And they try to, it's like if they're trying to, throw things and still and see what sticks. This is basically what it felt like. The smears did not work, so they had to kind of disappear him for a bit, and then come back later with another smear, which happened. In the meantime, what also happened was his courtroom appearances. And his courtroom appearances, the fashion there, comrades, insane, insane, to the point that people were going feral, because it was like a very preppy, style. Like people were actually going insane. Like there was some of the comments that I was reading, I was like, wow, okay, people are really, really. I mean, objectively, his courtroom appearances were actually really, really nice. The outfits were actually really good. And it was really funny to see the people on social media literally dressing like him. But it was actually kind of very interesting thing, to the point that even like brands such as Margiela and like stores like Nordstrom got some of their items sold out. Like similar items that Luigi was wearing sold out completely. That's just how impactful the fashion was, and yeah, it was actually very interesting to see how the fashion um is working, like in tying itself into the whole event, and especially this political event and all that. And another thing that I also want to touch on, because I was seeing a lot of people in the SME campaigns, like something that the media also pushed a lot was the fact that he comes from a privileged family. And I think even one of his cousin or like family member, I don't know how close or far, but is also in politics or something. And people were just like, oh my god, so he's a privileged white man, so like why are you rooting for him, why are you rooting for him? And this is when you kind of kind of see that people just don't understand like what solidarity means. Like actually a person like Luigi betraying his own class and coming to solidarity with us all is a good thing. That's actually a really, really good thing, that someone from a really privileged class is rallying with us. And I know that, like I said, the media loves to use identity politics in order to divide us. And that's how you see that it is used to divide us more. It is used to really kind of tackle the problems and all that. It's because the media is going to use that and push that and kind of in a way be like, huh, but why are you supporting him if he comes from a privileged background, Well, because actually a class traitor to the elite class is a good thing. And we need more of that. You need to understand. And also this is what's going to tie into like dialectical materialism, is to understand that basically things are not constant, and a class traitor to the dominant class is good. And the goal is, since we always talk about solidarity and getting people in our ranks and getting people to fight with us, is to get more of them with us. We are a very disorganized class. And this is also the reason why identity politics are being used so much, is because it's all about the divide and rule. Because when we all divided by just our identity elements, which I'm not saying that identity politics are not important, they are, but by the way they are used in this liberal society, is to use to divide us so they can better control us. Because if we always go by the fact that we're not going to be in unity or solidarity with someone of that identity because this and that, well, how are we going to fight the system? You understand what I'm trying to say? And it also goes with the fact that, people from the elite class coming in solidarity with the working people is a good thing. For this third chapter, we're going to talk about dialectical materialism and why it is important to have a grasp on that, to understand global issues, but to also understand like local issues and also like very trivial issues. I mean, trivial issues such as the subject that I am talking about in this video. So, what is dialectical materialism? So, dialectical materialism is a concept that is very prevalent in Marx and Engels' work, and it stipulates that we live in a world made of contradictions. And those contradictions in there needs to be understood how they kind of interact with each other, because those contradictions actually, some of them can actually make sense later in order to fulfill the material conditions that we all need. So it's kind of to generalize the whole thing. But I'm just going to read you like a definition that the internet gave, which, to be honest with you, I was reading that and I was like, okay, that is actually not too bad. So I'm going to read it. Dialectical materialism, a core philosophy of Marxism, emphasizes that reality is fundamentally material and that history and social development are driven by the interplay of material forces and contradictions. Dialectical materialism asserts that the material world, matter perceptible to the senses, has objective reality independent of mind or spirit. It posits that ideas and consciousness are products of and reflection of material conditions. And then dialectics. This refers to a method of reasoning that focuses on understanding things in their movement, change, and interconnection rather than static, fixed definition. It emphasizes the concept of contradiction and their resolution as a driving force of change. And then you have about what historical materialism is, which is this extends dialectical materialism to the study of history and society, arguing that the mode of production, how society organized that production of goods, is the primary determinant of social structures, ideologies, and political systems. This is actually quite of a great way to summarize and explain simply um, like what dialectical materialism is, and also historical materialism. I also highly suggest you to go and listen to Comrades Savannah Boyd's interview that she did with Upstream Podcast, where she talks about Marxism 101, because she is the co-founder of All Power Books in Los Angeles, and she does give some classes in All Power Books about Marxism. And basically this entire podcast is her explaining Marxism in a very simple terms, and the need of Marxism and how she got into Marxism and all that. And the way she explains dialectical materialism and historical materialism is actually really good. I actually shared it on my stories as well, where I literally like screen recorded the bit because it was actually so good. But the entire episode is actually really good. So please, you go and listen to that podcast. And if you don't follow like Savannah Boyd, please go follow the girl. Like, best comrade ever. So yeah, so basically, dialectical materialism is this idea, like I explained briefly in the beginning of this chapter, that we live in a world full of contradictions, and you need to understand how those contradictions work in order to understand why, like, people rooting for Luigi but still buying at Nordstrom or Margiela or whatever like fashion brand actually in a way makes sense, and actually is leading, can possibly lead to a betterment of material conditions. Because there's one thing that is actually very important to understand is that as human beings learn through imitation. So not only we learn through imitation, but when we aspire to to be something, we tend to going to see like elsewhere how other people do. This is just like how the human being behaves. That's the natural way we behave is through imitation. And the people like, wearing or buying things to imitate Luigi Mangione style is more than just the style. I feel like that it's like that in general. Even when people try to imitate like other influencers or other celebrities, is by trying to imitate the way they dress, is also trying to emulate something, like trying to also kind of try to have a bit of what they have, and maybe feeling closer to get to what they have, and trying to have a like a slight taste of maybe a fraction of what they have, which is when we talk about influencers and celebrities, is mostly like, you know a really luxurious lifestyle, and get to travel everywhere, get sent free product and all that. In the case of Luigi Mangione, it's people were actually so like rooting for him for what he did, that the way that those people do in dressing like him is kind of in a way sending a message that they do understand what he means, what he meant by doing that. In the broader spectrum, it must also be just to kind of also send a message of where they stand, politically as well. Like in this case, it would be like, yeah, I loathe CEOs and all that. So it must be maybe weird that those people are literally making money to Nordstrom, what those people don't need that, or Margiela, when those brands don't need even like even more money, especially in a society where the Western Empire is collapsing. We're living through multiple genocides, and those brands are literally supporting those genocides and supporting the people who are actually uh, leading us to a full collapse. So they're clearly not on our side, but this is part of contradiction in this world, in the fact that you also have to play with the tools that the masters have. There's this very very nice quote, I don't remember it like word for word, but that Marx said, which goes along the lines of like the last capitalist that we're going to hang should be hung with the rope that he's going to sell us, and which means that in a system, in a political system, economical system, sometimes like it's really hard to kind of find tools outside of that. So sometimes you need to know how to play with the tools within it, and how to then you know use those tools against the people who are actually benefiting from those tools. So it this is the way you have to understand why maybe it might be like very contradictory to praise what Luigi Mangione did, but then to rush to Nordstrom or whatever um, fashion brand or fashion store in order to buy like very similar items. Because at the end of the day, like what Luigi did and the impact it had is to not only wake people up on much more class solidarity. A lot of people were posting about how basically it's never really been left versus right, but it's now up versus down. A lot of people who actually, you know, like would call themselves conservatives were also being like, no, actually, I think at this point that all of us should actually unite and all that and go after the CEOs. So it's very much kind of understanding that the act that he did is, people are seeing it as a word, and it's not people are seeing it, but it's just like it's actually a small step closer to people not having to be in debt, people not having to die, people not having to literally go fund me's all the time in order to afford basic healthcare. A good healthcare is a betterment of our material conditions, because we need to be in good health if we want to live fulfilled life, if we want to live longer, if we want to just enjoy things, and just to work, we need to be in good health. um and in a world where basically your health is capitalized, so people can make a profit out of your misery, that should not even be a thing. People should not be capitalizing on our health, and betting on our deaths in order to just make a lot of profit. And understanding it like that, and kind of realizing that, okay, maybe buying at Nordstrom or Margiela or whatever brand um must be kind of completely counterintuitive or counterproductive to do that. I think it's best to understand that yes, it's contradictory to do that, but what is this contradiction meaning? Like, what is this contradiction actually really, really trying to convey? Because the moment you understand that, basically, yes, this contradiction actually could push more people to be like maybe we need um really people to unite and to do something so the elites stop profiting off our misery. It makes sense. It makes sense. And basically, Marx and Engels' entire work was to explain that those contradictions exist for a reason, and they are always there, but you need to understand how they work, how they interconnected, to understand what they mean. And it's like that for all the global issues or the issues out there. Some issues might feel like very contradictory, but sometimes you need to understand also that that contradictions means a thing. For example, regarding Palestine and Syria, yes, it was contradictory that the Palestinian resistance was actually relying on Assad's Syria, but it actually had, a betterment in the material condition of the Palestinian people, because the resistance got to actually have everything they needed to resist their oppression and to resist their colonization, which now they can't do that, because now Syria has a Western backed government that has destroyed pretty much everything, and is now genociding its own Alawite people. Like, and the thing is, the moment Assad's fell, so many people, and especially on the left, were celebrating that. And then the thing is, for the people like me who were just like, ooh, this does not really smell good. I don't think we should be celebrating that. We were literally shut down right away. Being like, oh, let them celebrate. And I'm very sorry. Like, I want people to celebrate like a lasting peace and dignity, not just something that will last like 2 hours and then they're going back to another dictator, But this one is actually more aligning with Western interests, who now are even willing to give them like millions, even though they actually massacring their own people, because like the West never really cared about human rights, if people don't really haven't caught the gist, you know. But understanding basically dialectical materialism will get you to understand why, basically, why, like, for example, like the example that I gave, the Palestinian resistance were relying on Syria in order to resist their colonization. You know, this then helps you to understand why people are spending money in Nordstrom and Margelia to look like Luigi Mangione when you know what Luigi Mangione did. And it's so important to have like a grasp of dialectical materialism, because this will really, really, really help you see how the world is shaped and also kind of see patterns. Because again, coming back to Syria, what happened in Syria is not new. This also happened in Libya. Look at what Libya is like right now. Open slave market. The people there regretting Gaddafi because the whole fucking country is fucked. The moment you understand dialectical materialism and start to see patterns and start to understand how contradictions work, wow, wow, it makes more sense as to why maybe those contradictions need to stay in order to lead to a betterment of material conditions. And this is all about that, and that has always been all about that. So that is why it is so important to understand like how dialectical materialism works, what it is, and to try to understand, okay, there's a contradiction here. How is this contradiction working? Because not all contradiction is actually leading to a betterment of material conditions. Let's be real here, okay? Not all of them do, but it's the reason why you should try to really get interested in understanding, like, okay, this contradiction, so there's this and this seems to be contradictory. What does it seem to be contradictory? What is this camp doing? What is this camp doing? Okay, like, and how is maybe them coming together really helping to the betterment of material conditions? All right, people, so that is it for this video. Please let me know in the comment section down below, what are your thoughts on the matter. uh, have you heard about dialectics before? Is this something that you are willing to get to learn more about, or was it something completely new? Don't forget to check down, because I always post like all the articles that not only I'm showcasing in this video, but maybe I also add like a couple of them that might be like very interesting to read and go through. Yeah, like, if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. That helps me a lot. Don't hesitate to share it. Like, the more the merrier. The more people understand dialectics, the better that this world will be. We need more people to kind of understand that this sham of a society is full of contradictions, and how this contradiction works, and then how to like understand that some of them are actually necessary in order to lead to the betterment of our material conditions. And yeah, like, I'm wishing you to hang in there, to be very, very serious with you. I'm really, really wishing you to hang in there. And in the meantime, I'll see you in my next video. Love always.